Well, I put it up to a vote. You guys wanted to hear about converting the 5th edition modules before going back to the ins and outs of Mystara. And I'm also going delirious from Cabin Fever, so I'm going to oblige you with the next two books off my stack, Princes of the Apocalypse and Storm King's Thunder. Now I can get to the beefy parts of these conversions because these are not easily converted, but they're not impossible. So I'm going to try to destroy the world this time around with elementals and giant, but with a twist. Welcome to Mystara. I'm Mr. Welch, and today's word is Gotterdammerung. First up is Princes of the Apocalypse, which suffers the same fate as a lot of 5th edition modules in that it's located entirely in a single region of Faerun, specifically the Sword Coast. Faerun is a massive place, yet more than half of the modules take place in a very small stretch of land comparatively. Rather than stick every module into just a random temperate zone that's going to cause the adventurers to start to have a sense of sameness, it's time to start looking at other parts of Mystara for settings. Remember, this video is specifically designed to help Dungeon Masters, so players beware, I'm not labeling spoilers. The module has evil worshippers of all 4 elements in a small location, so I need to find a place where fire, water, earth, and air can be easily found. This leaves 2 locations, Irindi and Minrathad. Because of the diversity of the villains and the creatures found within, I strongly suggest you set this module in Minrathad. It turns the sandbox into a bit of a bottle. You're on an island now, you can't go too far to the left or too far to the right, or bad things will happen to you. Minrathad is a perfect setting for an elemental module. You get the sea, volcanoes, mountains, and strong coastal winds for a perfect match. Converting the monsters is straightforward. Of the 4 big bads, only the tiefling stands out. But there's a fantastic opportunity to make her truly Mystaran. Instead of a tiefling, she's now a Solix, the creatures from the plane of fire that are the sworn enemies of the Ifrit. Only with Vanifer, something went wrong. Maybe she was captured by the Ifrit and tortured. Maybe she was always wrong in the head. Regardless, she's unrepentant evil and looking to watch the world burn. The air big bad Arisi only needs a minor tweak. Instead of posing as an Avariel, instead she becomes an Eeyore from the distant arm of the Immortals. They would be highly unusual in Minrathad, but as it's a merchant nation, they wouldn't be unheard of. The starting town of Redlarch can be easily explained away as just a small hamlet somewhere in Minrathad. If you wanted to put some space between the 4 evil hideouts, put each of them on a different island in Minrathad. Fortress Island with its mountains and rocky shores is great for the Earth Temple. Fire Island is obviously fire. Black Rock Island with its high peaks serves as the base for the Air Temple, and Open Isle with the reefs and shoals that surround a good chunk of it is home to the water cultists. So now you've got the party running around the nation of Minrathad, heading to a new location after every temple, but it keeps them close enough to avoid a lot of travel time. Mystara has a ton of elemental creatures that you are almost required to sneak into this module. Some of them are great substitutions for Faerun creatures. Kinku can be replaced with Evil Faenir from the Top Ballista expansion, or Winged Warriors from the Living Statue line, or Kalmaru from a purely elemental twist. The Air Cultists especially would be using Winged Warriors as much as they can. Replace Drow and Dwergar with regular elves and dwarves, of course, as normal. Aarakocra are switched out with Faenir without pause, and Sahuagin are now Sharkkin. The overly religious Kuatoa become equally fervent Karakara, especially since you're in the islands and that's their primary domain. The Aboleth that serves as one of the elemental lords is now a Kopru, selling his services for future power. Be sure to add in as many Mystaran elemental creatures as you want, because you are spoiled for choice. The evil Pyrophore makes for a fantastic sub-boss, as they love to set things on fire, and especially things that scream. For a water equivalent, you've got the sadistic Hydrax. Fundamentals of all types make for cheap cannon fodder. You just need to add more bodies to a fight. If you want to spice up the fire temple, add a lava ooze or a plasm. Mystara loves its elementals. Unleash them with glee. Tying the adventure to Minrathad is beyond easy. Minrathad doesn't like chaos. Evil cultists are bad for business. Things that are bad for business have a bad habit of dying in Minrathad. The guilds are going to hire adventurers to take care of the problem. Discreetly. Discretion is good for business. The players have to take care of the bad guys, but they can't level cities fighting cultists. What they do in the cultist hideout is between the party, the bad guys, and the immortals. If the party stops the cults and keeps it quiet, they're going to get paid, and they're going to get paid well. Remember, nothing about their job is to leave Minrathad. Minrathad handles evil cultist infestations the same way Russia deals with leaking nuclear reactors or China deals with virulent strains of pneumonia. Bad things happen to those who spill state secrets. That finishes Princes of the Apocalypse. I'm not here to review the modules, just to convert them. So this kicks it over to Storm King's Thunder. This is the one you have to change the very reason for the module, because the Ordning is not a Mystaran concept. It started in Greyhawk and was promptly assimilated by the Forgotten Realms. Mystaran giants don't hold other giants in any sort of pecking order, though a few like the Hephaeston get honored because of their special abilities. Still, if a Hephaeston gave an order to a hill giant, the hill giant's under no obligation to follow the order. That being established, the first order of the day is to find a location for this module to be placed. This one is fairly easy because there's only one place that really fits all the terrain requirements for the various giants you're going to be facing. That's going to be in Vestland. You've got mountains for the fire giants, hills for the hill giants, tundra for the frost giants, and coastline for the storm giants. You've also got berserkers for the angry tribe folk as well, if necessary. Now to rewrite the story and make it much smaller in scale. Instead of a worldwide crisis, this is a family squabble restricted to the northern reaches. King Hecaton rules over the local giants after beating down the other giant tribes in a war decades past. The other giants owe him fealty, though grudgingly. His oldest daughters are tired or waiting for him to die, but they don't realize that he's the reason there is peace among all the giants at all. It doesn't take much to set the adventure in Vestland. It's an emerging mercantile nation, so there's going to be a lot more diversity in the races than if you set it in Solderfjord. Now, humans are still going to be the dominant race by a massive margin, but it explains why there might be some hin in the villages. Mystara has a lot of races, but not much in the way of race mingling outside of a few specific areas. As always, replace non-Mystara races with Mystara races. Reading through all of these books makes me wonder if somebody at Wizards of the Coast has a serious fetish for tieflings, because they're supposed to be a rare race, and they appear in almost every single town you encounter. Once you finish the starting adventure, you get to replace the next 3 towns. Fortunately, you've got a flying castle, so you can spread out all over the map. But if you want to keep the setting in Vestland, all the better. The original adventure sends you up and down the Sword Coast, but it's also a world-spanning event. For distant Bryn Shander, it becomes the furthest north of Vestland, possibly onto the Heldonic freeholds or even Norworld itself. Golden fields can be set further inland, possibly as far as Runa. This is where large fields of grain can be found, as well as a large number of apiaries for mead and more exotic crops gained from the new trade Vestland is enjoying. Tribor is a trading post. It can be literally anywhere in Vestland. Remember, when setting this in Vestland, the majority of the population is human, but there is a sizable minority of dwarves and gnomes. Not many races of any other type is going to be found in large numbers. You'll find individual elves, Hin, Lupin, and Rakasta, but not enough to be considered a community. The Uthgard of Icewind Dales feature heavily in the module, but they don't have a good Mystaran equivalent. The closest you can get is Solderfjord raiders, and they're going to be invaders rather than native to the land. Still, they can serve as good bad guys that are looking for a fight without much explanation. To add a couple of Mystaran twists to the module, first, change Harshnag into a mountain giant, a race of giants pretty much exclusive to Mystara. Mountain giants are known for working with the smaller races. In fact, a large number of them find employment fighting alongside the dwarves of Rockholm. Harshnag's motivation is now that he's tired of the raiding and the chaos caused by the other giants trying to break their fealty to King Hecaton. So instead of being a noble goal as his sole motivation, he's using this as an excuse to bust some heads among the giants he really can't stand. The second major change is that the Eye of the Allfather becomes, instead of a temple to the god of the giants, it's actually the home to a very old and very powerful Hephaeston. Remember when I said these guys hold a special place in giant lore because of their abilities? Now this is where you show it off. The Hephaeston is not just a respected giant. He forges artifacts for Odin himself, especially scrying relics, hence the Eye of the Allfather. The Hephaeston has been sought out before by various giant rulers. He uses his relics to answer their questions. The dead giant ghost you encounter was slain by his father for opposing his father's plans, once learning of the answer to their question. The Hephaeston answers their questions out of boredom, or you can require a price for each answer. The Oracle should be forging new artifacts while he answers the questions. Never once does he even stop to look at the party. He is just so wrapped up in his work. The search for the relics, instead of being a religious quest for the giants, is now an arms race. Each of them knows of an artifact created by the Immortals, a Hephaeston, or the Modrig's work that would put them on top of the other giants in the region. If more than one succeeds, it's going to turn into a bloodbath, as the giants will be more than happy to turn their new relic on their rivals. The airship of the dragon cultists instead turns out to be a Galantrian airship run by a dracologist and his retinue. The wizard is more than happy to hire the party to help them deal with the giants as they're disturbing his research, though that's up to you to determine what he's researching. The actual dungeon crawls for the giants don't need a lot of alterations. The motivations of the giants have been altered, but their methods haven't. The Yakvolk village can be used as is if you want to keep them, but if you want a substitute monster, the entire village is begging to be filled with Baldanar. Those creatures fill the same purpose as the Yakfolk and have largely the same sort of powers as well. When you get to the part where you have to find the ship the Grand Dame as part of the plot, this is a great chance to introduce Pao Ming, though instead of hailing from Karatar in the realms, she showcases the strange caste system of Ocholoa. Ocholoans have a very strict gendered caste system. If a woman wants to be a warrior, wizard, or general adventurer, they're forbidden from doing so. Because of this, she will often flee the nation to pursue her dreams. This is why most Ocholian adventurers outside their own nation are women. It has very little bearing on the actual adventure, but it's also a nice tie-in to other lands. For the same reason, you can change the Morkoth's first mate from a half-orc to a Thule to give the module even more of a Mystaran feel. For the final showdown, you need a desert. Unfortunately for Mystaran players, just south of the northern reaches is Yalarum, home to one of the largest deserts in the setting. I'm not sure how you go from Sweden to Arabia in the space of a few miles, but just blame a wizard and everybody's happy. There, replace the Yuan-Ti with Sithik and run the adventure as normal. And that ends Storm King's Thunder. It's not as grand a scope as Faerun's world-ending version, but no less difficult. I am currently in lockdown as I wait for a test on someone suspected of being infected, though that's looking more and more like a simple case of the flu, so I'm not really worrying there. I've got 5 books left to convert, and you do seem to be enjoying these conversions, so that's what I'm going to keep doing. I won't lie, they are challenging to do because the difference in the settings. Faerun is all about world-spanning emergencies that always seem to happen in a very small geographical region. And Mystara likes to keep things centered around local events. On the plus side, I did get some new art from Rubus, so the book is trucking along nicely. It's almost done, just need 3 more pieces of art. But until next week, remember if you can't handle the paperwork, world domination really isn't all that much fun.